This is Lincoln One's 2018 facility plan meeting with School Facilities Division of the State Construction Department, and we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves.
Good morning, Brandon Finney with Planning and Finance, State Construction.
Amber Leach, Planning.
Charlie Kaufman, Planning.
Troy Decker, Planning.
All right.
Teresa Chalk, Superintendent.
Kim Zuniga, Business Office Clerk.
Richard Filoni, Facilities Director.
So thank you for coming and joining us today, and thank you for all the work that you guys have done beforehand. I know Amber and you guys do a lot of work before the meeting and to help make this meeting go as smooth as possible, so we do appreciate that effort beforehand. Lance, as I said, will not join us today, and so we removed his name from the template, and I'm not sure if Paul's going to join us or not. So just go ahead, take him off. Very good. I can do that. All right. All right.
Turn off on video just in case.
So we've also been having some streaming issues lately, so we are going to turn off our video camera so we can preserve our bandwidth here. So anyways, before we get going too far, this is the sky view from your campus, well, of your buildings and cameras. So we like to put these in there. So you see your Canyon Elementary School. Then for everyone here, this is the Kemmers Elementary School right here, the junior high school, the admin building over here, and then Burgoon BOCES.
And what are you doing with those additional houses up there next to the Kemmer Elementary School?
This one is New Frontier, and then the other one is maintenance shop.
Okay, so maintenance is in there?
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
All right. So on these next few items, I know you guys have reviewed them, so we're going to just go right on through. And if you do have any questions, feel free to stop me. Tracks and deeds, thank you for getting those filled out and verifying those. And the reason for the last few years, what we've been trying to do is every year we have to report to WDE that acreage for groundskeepers. And I'm currently doing that for this year right now. When I get a spare moment, I work with Jet Sicarelli from WDE, and we work to get those verified from you. So thank you for looking over those.
Hey,
Yes.
Charlie, I have one question. Teresa, this is Brandon.
Hi, Brandon.
Undeveloped site track. We were with JC Inskeeps yesterday, and he was saying there's a bill going through that said that if you have land such as that one that's undeveloped 3 acres, you don't get money for that on the block grant side. Do you know what bill that is?
Actually, I don't. I can find out today and call you.
Okay.
Were you familiar with that bill by any chance at all?
No, I was not. I don't know of a single bill for that. It's not in 117 or 140. So did he know if it was on the Senate or the House side?
He also wasn't sure exactly where it was located, but he did mention that, that's one of the ways, because you have land there, it's undeveloped. So I sort of see where they're coming from, but I just wanted to more educate myself of the bill, the process, so knowledgeable.
Well, the only thing I know about undeveloped site and funding, it wasn't through major maintenance, so they're reducing funding for groundskeepers if we have undeveloped land. Is that what he was talking about?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Where's that at?
Yeah, that's in 117.
Okay.
Senate file 117. Yeah, and it's over at the House now.
Okay, Senate file 117.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Okay. And then another step, then what do you guys use that 3 acres for?
Well, Richard, which 3 acres is it? Is it the swamp area?
Right, that would be all of that swamp area, north of the old football field.
Right there?
And it's kind of yeah, and that area kind of extends up a little bit further too. It kind of has a weird shape to it, but that's what they're referring to.
Yeah, it's got some weird topography on there, and when I was doing the searches, I didn't know what to name it. I guess I still haven't figured out what to name that.
Well, I can tell you that we wish we didn't own that, because when people dump there, we have to do something, huh, Richard?
That's right.
It's a problem.
Isn't that a wildlife refuge and you guys are managing that?
If that will keep us funded, yes, it is.
All right, well, thank you. I appreciate the knowledge. Senate File 117, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll read it. Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
We'll put that into our bill.
Yeah,
I gotta find it.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, so Senate File
Yeah, that's a real
117. That one,
interesting one.
yeah, that is an interesting one. All right, thank you for that. Property profiles. So this, basically the reason why we verify this is for square footage purposes, which ties into the major maintenance payment. So thank you for verifying these. I did make those changes on the zip codes for camera and cleaning up I'm not sure who spelled the camera the way they did, but I made sure we cleaned that up. So this is all cleaned up from the conversation we had about a week ago, Kim and Richard. So I got that cleaned up.
Yep. Okay. Looks good.
I did have a good chuckle there. They had added an extra R to it. The camera is already an interesting spelling, and when you add another R to it, it looks really ridiculous.
Well, but at least it wasn't another ER.
That's true. So we got that cleaned up for you. All right, and you reviewed the leases and then enhancements. So let's talk a little bit about the pool. So you guys are working with Lance to get that filled out, the enhancement for the pool, correct?
Yes, I don't believe we have yet. I've been gone a lot, but we will reach out to Lance, correct, Cam?
Yes, that's correct. We've both been gone, but sometime within the next week we'll reach out to Lance to get that filled out.
Okay. And
Do we know when Lance will be back from his vacation?
the 7th.
Okay, so we don't want to bother him till after he's back, so okay.
All right, yeah. The big thing for us, is that we just needed. It just says we need to take it in front of the commission, and so that's our biggest thing for us, making sure we get that in front of the commission.
Yep, no problem.
All right. Moving on, the district appropriations update. So Brandon, that you have yours. So 1097 has been completed. There's no funds remaining.
Okay. So we will close out that one.
1097, right? And then, so 1098.
If enrollment continues to decrease, the district will move case 6 to King. This is projected to happen in 1920.
So let's talk about 1098 really quick. Now that we're here.
So is this capital or component? Which are both capital. The component?
I believe this is component.
1.1. When did you get the money for it?
1098.
Well, we've had this money earmarked ever since the renovation was completed at the high school, because the plan was to go K-6. However, our kindergarten enrollment kept increasing, so we wouldn't fit in, because we only have 3 classrooms per grade level at Canyon. That's the way the building was designed. And we were having like 4 kindergarten classrooms or, 4 second grade classrooms. But so anyway, it's been earmarked for a very long time, and they've never taken that out, because I know you guys want us to go K-6. But anyway, we're looking at if our enrollment stays where it is, that we would like to go K-6 for August of 2019, one more year in the facilities we're in. But yeah, we need to get that dining room redesigned, because the original dining area when it was Kimmer Middle School was our main kitchen. So it has a huge kitchen, well, whatever, a bit large kitchen, and a dining area that's smaller than needed to run lunches for K through 6, and and keep lunch at a normal lunchtime instead of starting at 10:45 and ending at 1. So that's why that money's been there.
Yeah. Teresa, who is your architect on the high school?
Well, okay. Kent, what's his last name, Richard?
That was Mike Quinn.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Quinn. Guys,
this is coming back to me. Yeah, this is an old part of the old project.
Right, and Quinn resigned, but every year, I think I'm talking to Tony, we've kept that in there for when we do move, and we're ready to use it if it's still available to move forward. And the main reason for saying August of 2019 is at this late date, we figured it might, take time to plan, and the actual work would be done over the summer of 2019.
Okay. Yeah, my way back memory's coming on. I recall working with Lance on some of this. We will leave it open, and my only recommendation would be to start the process.
Yeah, I'll visit with Lance about it to get it going. Okay.
There's been funds that have been reappropriated and reswept and all sorts of stuff this session. So it would be a fun thing to lose that opportunity for the district.
So are you directing me to just visit with Lance about that when he gets back from vacation?
I would recommend you do that and knock the dust off of it and proceed as needed.
District is
Okay, thanks.
to move forward with the project. And we'll work with Lance. So. Okay, yeah, Teresa, like Brandon said, it's really important you guys move forward with that because no kidding, we have legislators who are looking for money, and we're responsible for anything that's still out there to provide information on. So this would be a great opportunity.
I completely understand. They're wanting to take all everybody's money.
Yeah.
Nothing's sacred if it's not spent.
And if you got the money, I mean, you've got the need coming up, I would just get it going. Go out for procurement, plan it, and start rolling.
That's obviously a little bit old, that appropriation, but you do have major maintenance and certainly can use your major maintenance to do other things within there if that doesn't stretch it as far as you need to do.
Thank you for that discussion. Moving on, we're going to go ahead and, what's that?
Oh, I said you're welcome.
We're going to go ahead and move on to security. And Troy, or am I doing this?
Go for it.
All right.
You're the leader.
So I guess seems how Lance isn't here to fill in for me. I get to do a little brief history of the security money. Security money was appropriated in 2014. Is that right?
A while back, one or two bienniums ago.
Right. And so
we never talked about security money till 2 years ago in Kimmer. So I don't know when it was appropriated, but it wasn't brought to our attention till 2 years ago. And then we talked stringently about it.
Okay. Yeah. So anyways, the biggest concern from the legislature and why we haven't been able to get more funding other than the 8 elements that are listed above is due to the slow rollout from districts. And there's still quite a bit that has been unexpended. And basically at this point in time, we're looking for ways to be able to help districts to be able to get moving forward on these projects.
But the only thing we can spend it on are the items listed, right?
On these 8, correct. So let's talk a little bit about that. So I know that we've talked with other districts about them being able to roll everything out. This is where I want a little.
Yeah, so you have these elements, right? You have door entry systems all the way down to visitor management systems. And if you wanted to do more on one of those elements, you can write a letter to the department requesting that you will waive some of those elements. Let's just, for example, say you wanted to waive visitor management system and move that money to something that's more important for the district. You can do that, submit a letter to the department. We'll make the accounting adjustments, and you'd work with Lance to implement that funding on that project. If you look down below in Lincoln 1, you've got $54,684. That money has a little more flexibility, deviation within it. and you can spend it on anything that's related to security. Does that help out?
Video cameras in the classroom?
Yep. As George, orange vest for teachers, walkie-talkies, video cameras shooting down at the front door with a buzzer to get people in and out. It's just more of a broader, has greater deviation on what it can be spent on. But those ones up above are pretty consistent, but you can move from one line to the other. And if you want to do so, you just say, as a district, this is not our priority. We want to shift it to exterior door locks, and we want to beef that one up.
Okay.
But remember, though, there's one important thing with that.
Good catch. Amber, go ahead. Oh,
Just remember, once you work with Lance and you shift the money from a vestibule to something else, that the money doesn't get refilled on the vestibule to go back on another project, because that would make a nightmare for accounting. It's a one-time.
Yeah, if you move the funds once, and there's no opportunity for backfill. That's what happens.
Okay.
All right. Thank you guys for helping on that. So basically, you have that flexibility at those video cameras with that 10% major maintenance money in the classroom. So I have a question. Is there still that security money in the bill for this go around, or?
I believe so. I think there's a section, I don't know if it got cut or not yet, but they did do the 10% security funds again, which is at 54. So you would get that again in this biennium if the bill passes. And it's buried in some bill. I don't know exactly which one. I have to double check it. So that'd be a good thing for you guys to give you some more flexibility.
Okay.
All right. And that's another thing I would say, stand on Lance's neck and get rolling on that, because it looks like have you guys spent any of it? Doesn't look like it.
No, and I just texted Cam, we got to get moving on the security thing. So.
Yeah. You know, one thing a district did is you could hire a consultant, like an architect, and they could package those up in a way where it could maybe create economy of scale for you.
Okay. Well, and we have people on hand right now at the pool, so we could visit with EDA about that.
Okay.
So another real quick thing Amber reminded me of is, so there's also an opportunity for districts to supplement the security funding with grants from Homeland Security. In your facility plan module in AIM, the contact information is there for that. And we've had other districts that have been able to get grant funding for them for security measures as well.
Okay.
So both Senate File 1 and House Bill 1 both have what you just talked about, Brandon, still remaining.
Security money, okay.
So that's something that they can agree on. That's good. There's very few of those.
That is some of the.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes they agree on things you're probably not so excited about, huh, Teresa?
Yeah, we had a few amendments come in last night that I know the Senate will accept, but but it's a nightmare. Have you guys been over there?
Yeah, quite a bit. Heading there in just a little bit.
Yeah, it's they're not agreeing on much. But when they agree on a cut, yes, that's the only thing they'll agree on is usually cutting us. However, so it's all going to boil down to the budget bill.
Yeah.
So let's just say that the district will continue to work. District will work with Lance to extend funds.
All right, very good. All right, thank you guys for helping out on that section. Always good for that. And so next we'll move on to capacity for your district. So currently, looking at your district across the way, 49% at Canyon Elementary School, 70% at New Frontier High School, Kemmer Elementary School just a little over half full, and then the high school is at 43% or 44% almost.
So Teresa, you were talking about potentially. I was reading your facility plan earlier. You're thinking about maybe bringing students over to the Canyon and exiting Kemmer Elementary School. Is that correct?
Well, that's part one. part two, though, and this is where I'm trying to figure out how to make this work, is we would abandon New Frontiers duplex and put them down there. But of course, they're not going to need, but maybe a fourth of the building. I don't know how to work with you guys to remedy that situation. If they occupied it, and it's Kimmer, it's not like we could try to rent space out, and help with maintenance costs and this and that. So we're gonna have to have a bigger discussion around that, because our alternative school, I know the numbers here said 17 in October, but we usually have 24, 25 kids in there, and it's not large enough to effectively handle that. If you ever come to Kimmer, we basically have 2 really small classrooms and 1 large setting. So we really want to move that New Frontier into Kimmer Elementary, but we wouldn't need the entire building. So I'm trying to figure out how we could work that.
Okay.
Because of capacity issues. Because then we're still, then Kimmer Elementary would be at 10% capacity. You know what I mean?
When we get down just a little bit farther here, let's have a further discussion on that.
Okay.
All right.
So let's pull up your enrollment projections. We really quick for your district, and very interesting. Over the last 10 years, your kindergarten class averaging around 59 kids, a little more than that this year, and especially last year. Between a couple big years for your kindergarten. So in general, when we look at your enrollment projections, we look at a couple things. We look at the kindergarten classroom size, our kindergarten class, excuse me, wow. And then the survival rates, and looking at your projections going ahead. More than anything, so as you know, these are 10-year trailing data for us. So it's
Right.
the last 10 years and gives us the trends of which we look for the future.
So, Teresa, just interesting, you've got a lot of attrition as those students move from kindergarten through 12th grade. And different districts are different, some are really, we just met with one that has positive survival rates, pretty well K through 6 almost. I know their kindergarten, they had, and yours is kind of the same way. Sometimes you have kindergarten students that aren't quite, I assume, aren't quite ready to move on to first grade. You might hold them back another year and then put them in the first grade there. But just talk about a little bit about your survival rates. These are percentages in the far right, average survival rate over the last 10 years. And so you do have kind of an exit of students almost throughout the whole K-12 process, but particularly your high school. What's the deal there, do you think?
There actually isn't any consistent reason for people to leave, but if they leave, but then you notice typically we hold our own right around that 600 number. We're up or down 20 throughout a year, and right now we're on our downside. But there's nothing in particular pulling people away. A lot of times it's children. Yeah, I can't tell you that. There's nothing in particular that brings them here or takes them away, other than in the last 5 years, my hypothesis is that people are been afraid of the coal mine and the power plant, reducing staff. So if they can find other jobs that are more secure, they're leaving. But there's not one faction that's actually pulling people away. Richard, what do you think?
No, I agree with that. There's really no rhyme or reason to it. It's kind of just been the way Kimmer's been for several years. The uncertainties, I think, is what pulls people away, and also the uncertainties is what keeps them away. So that's kind of my take on it.
Teresa, do you have a kindergarten roundup kind of thing, and have you started that process yet?
Oh yeah, we've done that. Shoot, for longer than I've been here, so we've done that for more than 20 years. So next year we have 39 coming in from one place, and about 8 or 10 from another. Next year's kindergarten is going to be pretty low. But when you talked earlier about our potential retention rate at kindergarten, the reason you'll see like in 2016, 69 in kindergarten and 33 going to first is because we don't have a preschool, but we have a developmental kindergarten. And the maximum kids we put in that class is 15. So those 15 are actually targeted to go developmental kindergarten, the kindergarten, and then first grade.
Okay. And just to help you a little bit, the progression of classes are a little bit different what you just said. That 69 rolls over to the next year at 51. So it's more
Okay.
diagonal, and it took me a while to figure that one out myself.
Yeah, so 50 kind of 30.
Yeah, but you do.
But that's still about the right number of kids, to go that were in DK that go to kindergarten. So we might have one or two that get promoted to first grade, but it's very rare.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so then for the statewide capacity list, this is more for your information. So every year for policy 2013-20, we prioritize our high capacity needs throughout the state. So currently, you look here, high priorities are above 100%, medium between 95 and 100%, and low priority between 90 and 95%. And typically, we don't look at districts until they hit around that 95% capacity rate. So right now, we have a study that we've completed with Albany One's junior high school there, and just monitoring enrollment right now. And we're currently conducting a planning study for Rock Springs for their capacity issues. So more for your information.
Teresa, Cokeville, does that community have people that come down to the mines also?
Yes, we have people that come to the mine from Idaho, Utah, and Cokeville.
Okay.
And Rock Springs and Green River. They drive from all over to work at the mine or the Rocky Mountain Power Plant, Williams, any of our industries.
So this next section, major maintenance calculations, allowable gross square footage. This is a couple of questions that we get every year from a lot of districts is, one, how is our major maintenance our calculations, like how is that calculated, and what are the main factors that go into that? So the two main factors that we show are the ADM, which is your average daily membership, and that allowable that the square footage that your ADM drives. And so there's a couple of things here that we'll talk about. The first one is that right now that you're getting paid for 140,000 square feet. That's the big thing there. That's the amount of major maintenance you receive for that covers your square footage is for that much. The 206, so you're only getting paid for 140,000 square feet, and you have 268,000 square feet. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. The second is that we also, I appreciated your comment down here. We look at your buildings. You don't have any new buildings. These buildings were originally built were built under bond measures. You built them for growth. We can appreciate that. And so let's talk a little bit about more about that right now.
Well, I was kind of reading your comment here, Teresa, and I'd probably take just a little bit different perspective on it. You were saying, and again, it's our responsibility to communicate clearly, and sometimes we don't communicate as clear as we need to. We are unsure how the SFD approved all our projects and now states that we are over capacity by this amount. So I would assume that high school then, was there an addition to that as well?
Well, right. Now, I understand that we are over because we have enhancements, okay? But, our enhancements at the high school is just that the main gym. That was our enhancement. We built a new gym. We bonded for that gym. And I understand that our football field is an enhancement. Components of it are enhancement. We get the field, but, not the stands or turf. And our pool is an enhancement that we pay for. But I'm just curious on the numbers because as far as the size of my hallways, the size of my classrooms and all that, that was, even being dictated back when we redid the Kimmer Elementary or Canyon Elementary and the high school, those classroom sizes were we didn't go over square footage on that. So I just get confused on how I can be that far over when everything was existing and we didn't add any enhancements at Canyon Elementary School, other than at the time the FA blocks were an enhancement. I had to pay for those. But at the high school, we bonded to add a gym.
So I guess, when I said I appreciate the comment about, those buildings being the footprint they were because they're built back in the bond days. So let's be clear real quick. So the ADM one only drives at 140,000 square feet. That's what happens. So when in the major maintenance calculation, when we put in your average daily membership, that's all the allowable it drives. It has really nothing to do with how we design the building. That's just what you're getting paid for. So that's one piece of
and I'm not really, as long as the legislature doesn't try to take my depreciation reserve account, then I'm fine knowing that I'm responsible for ensuring I have funds to maintain those buildings. My main question, I guess, if you could educate me, is how are we funded for the utilities of those buildings? Does size come into play for that? Because we know that it costs more to heat a larger building than a small. That's one of my questions that I've never quite understood, how we're funded for our utilities based on this. Is there any connection?
No, there isn't. Major maintenance is major maintenance, and your block rent. And my understanding back from the day, and they may have changed it since then, and you guys have an average of X number of years of previous utility amounts. I thought it was 3 years, perhaps. And then they base your payment off the previous 3 or 5 years. I'm sure your business manager may have that locked down a little bit more. But
I am the business manager. That's why I was asking, because we're switching from coal to gas, and we're going to spend about $125,000 more to heat our buildings this year than we did last year. So I was just curious. So it'll take a while to catch that up, and that is something that they have reduced. The legislature has reduced, and the funding model is the amount of money they spend on utilities. So, all right, thanks.
Teresa, are you also the chief bottle washer and stuff like that as well?
Well, we don't designate chief bottle washer. We all do that.
Okay, so let's get down to what we were trying to do in this one is to demonstrate that you're not getting enough major maintenance, and we recognize that. So last year we had a study for major maintenance and had some really good, in our opinion, really good recommendations flowing to the select committee, and it never really got past them. And what we were trying to do, well, a little bit, but what we were trying to do is increase major maintenance to help you guys take care of the excess square footage you have. And so that was really our motive on this question. And I think just to give you data to acknowledge that we recognize you don't have enough major maintenance to take care of the square footage. And then the second part of this question, we asked, does the district have any ideas on how to more closely align allowable square footage with total square footage? What really got us thinking last year is we were working with Fremont 25, and I'm sure you know Terry Snyder.
Yeah.
And Terry was, they just have this huge TAC building, it's the old high school, Tonkin Activity Center. And it's like a 65,000
square foot building.
Yeah.
And
I've been in the building.
Okay, and they're basically going, and then their high school and middle school, high school, it's under capacity. And so we started talking to Terry, and we said, Terry, you spent like some crazy thing, like $6 million, $10 million, something on this TAC building that you have like 28 students in. For 65,000 square feet. And so it got us kind of thinking about asking districts, and this is not to push you into anything or anything, but what we're trying to do is give the opportunity for districts to say, so for instance, you just mentioned, and everybody says the same thing. Terry, when we went up last fall or summer,
last fall, yeah.
We went in, we toured the TAC building, and Terry said, there is no way on planet Earth the community is going to support getting rid of this building. And I can tell you today that it was 2 weeks ago or maybe 3 weeks ago that Terry, what we did was we did a planning study with Terry. And we said, Terry, would you be willing to look at excess square footage within your district? We know it's politically sensitive and said, if we can provide the money, would you be willing to conduct a study in such a way that would involve all the stakeholders? We would hire a consultant to help you and to do graphics and stuff like that. Would communicate clearly. We'll work with your school board, key stakeholders, and then eventually we'll work with your community. Once you guys feel very comfortable with where you want to go, are there opportunities for you to move students around, use other facilities, and to dispose of, not necessarily demolish, but dispose of that elementary school? And Terry, again, last summer, he's like, no way on planet Earth it's not going to happen. 2-3 weeks ago, Terry literally in a meeting said, we don't see any other option but to get rid of it. And we have some opportunities here, and we're pretty excited about that. So he completely went from political, this is a community issue, there's no way on planet Earth, but you know what? I'll take your money and we'll do a study and we'll involve everybody, to complete opposite conclusion. Because what he's looking at, and you know this much better than I do, even though I was a teacher in my past life and a coach, you're looking at, I mean, your bottom line is you want to keep as many teachers as possible, pay them as well as you can, because what that means, and retain the best teachers possible if available to teach your students, because that's what makes a difference in their lives, educational achievement wise, as well as socially and everything else. So looking back at you, I want to re-ask this question now that I've given you a little bit of background. Would you be, it sounds like you recognize you have extra square footage, and obviously you do. You've got about what? Is that 128,000
28.
that you're not getting paid for? Would you be interested in us potentially in the future here, once we get done with Terry's study and kind of use that as a pilot, talk to the commission, would you have an interest in maybe a study that would help you holistically look at your buildings and the additional square footage you have, perhaps bring in all the stakeholders in a very visible, transparent way, and would allow you maybe to address that, saying, hey, I mean, you could almost point to the state construction department and say they've offered some opportunities here to look at maybe some extra square footage, and we talk to your school board. Would you be interested in having that? And you could talk to Terry Snyder on that before you committed to that, and you don't have to commit to anything. We're just offering funds to help you maybe to address that in a more public, transparent way with all the stakeholders. And then to see the other thing that really is important on that is they're looking at their block grant. They're looking at their available funds. And they're actually having very, very serious conversations about what's more important to us in this community. Is it the quality of teachers we have, the number of teachers we have, and how much we pay them, and the challenges of the fact that we are getting cut budgets, and how can we minimize the impacts of less and less money. Those are the kind of thoughts going through our minds, and it kind of takes a superintendent perhaps out of maybe the driver's seat in leading that, and actually helps them promote a process that honors them. And Terry's done a great job internally, and he hasn't just given in to the state or anything. That's not what these studies are for at all. They're just us helping you kind of work through a process, and then seeing what kind of impacts you can have on your block grant and the challenges you face, and maybe have some opportunities there to get more distance out of your block grant than what you are. Those are some thoughts. What's your initial response to that?
Well, my initial response would be, yeah, I'll visit with Terry, and I'd be interested in any support. It's my board is the ones that are completely against me abandoning Kimmer Elementary. So, yeah, I would appreciate any support to do a study to go through and figure out ways that we could mitigate our over capacity, issues. The only words I struggle with are driver's seat. My board's going to make me stay in the driver's seat, but I would love to work with you guys on figuring something out, because I know that we can't sustain the cost of having all of these buildings it's going to take away from the funds that we have available to pay teachers and support staff if we don't figure something out. So, yeah, I would be open to that, and I'll visit with Terry.
Yeah, and I think what that does, Teresa, is all it allows you to do is look at what your general account is, you know, and those expenditures, and what your facilities related expenditures are, and take a look at utilities. And could you save utility? And then what can you do with? I know those guys. I can't remember. It's well over 100,000 to just the utilities alone.
It's $140,000.
$140,000 to in utilities alone to keep a 65,000 square foot building, the TAC building. And Terry's like, wow. You know, I mean, once he started looking at that, not easy choices, but he's made it so public. He's done such a good job. And I think he's just looking at and going, hey, if we can save $140,000 just on utility costs alone per year, and then somehow meet our specific needs of our students in these ways, and then make our major maintenance go farther and spend that major maintenance on the building that we actually use and can hold our students. So those are thoughts. May we put down here, and we can keep note if you want. Can we just put down in our notes that the district may consider teaming up with the state construction department for a study to better utilize your existing space? Would that work?
Yeah, that's fine. I just have one question. I mean, you say 140,000 utilities, but that's just that's just for like the first year of the closure, because eventually that money's going to be gone because of the way utilities are funded.
No, that's a good point. Very good point.
Oh, because
after
it goes through so many, then that
right. It's just bonus money for about 3 years.
But that's good to save money, right? In the long term, it would drop the state's budget, right?
Well, that's good.
I'm just saying that the point is if you're going to be transparent, you can't throw a carrot out there that's not going to last. You have to be fully transparent.
I see what you're saying.
That's right. That's her chief financial officer role coming out. Awesome. You know, there is advantage of wearing multiple hats, aren't there?
Yes, there's many advantages to wearing multiple hats, but there's also many disadvantages.
Yeah, it's called the personal life, and so okay.
Sometimes personal lives are a disadvantage, so it just depends. I'm just kidding.
Hey, so what we're going to do here, Teresa, please do talk to Terry, and we're going to actually be presenting that probably. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool if we could present that maybe in June. Isn't June or when are we in Afton?
In June.
In June. Hopefully, we'll be presenting that in June in Afton to the commission, and so that may or may not be something you're interested in attending. But it was just fascinating for me to see Terry go from there's no way politically we can do this to, you know what, there's no way we can't do this and be responsible with the monies we have. So that was a fascinating transition. And again, it's not like the state, you know how it is. It's not like us with the club beating on his head or something. I mean, he's pretty well been in the driver's seat for those internal discussions within his district and informed us of what is acceptable, what isn't, and there hasn't been any kind of pressure from us in that at all.
Yeah, well, and I'm just a straight shooter, so I mean, I would appreciate that if it's something that we have to do, it just supports us as superintendents to say that, look, this is our funding, this is what the state's telling us we need to do. Now we have to make a responsible decision, as opposed to us just saying, hey, we've lost the fight, we got to move forward and do this. It's a joint effort. But what's the meeting in June?
It's a commission meeting.
Do you know when it is? And you're having it in Afton?
We are.
Yes.
Well, you guys should come to Kimmer. You know, that's an hour and 45 minutes away. But you've never had one in Kimmer, and we have a facility to have it in.
We would love to do that in the future.
Yeah. So when is it in June? Do you know the dates off the top of your head?
Let me look real quick here.
Right now
Probably said it. Oh, I guess, I don't know, I don't see it here, but we'll try to get that to you.
All right.
We will not try, we will get that to you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Because I would be interested in hearing the presentation.
Okay, great. All right, we're going to put you down as maybe a future potential study in our other notes, and that's all we're going to do. And then we'll let you kind of see what happened there, let you talk to Terry, and then we'll put you, contact you again in the future here and see if you have any interest at all, if that would be of any benefit to you or not.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and move on. So charter schools, you don't have any charter schools. The ALT education program, New Frontier High School. Thank you for adding the notes for the enrollment. So you usually have between 22 and 25 in that school.
Yeah, that's typical. We graduated 12 last year, which that's not typical to graduate that many in one cohort. But so yeah, normally it's between 22 and 24.
Okay, and typically, any other questions or comments about this? Okay, very good. Well, I'm glad that's pretty good for a graduating class out there. Sounds good. Okay, moving on then real quick, we're going to continue on condition. So this graphic was brought to us by FEA on October 2016, and we've kept it in front of everybody. So basically, this is the lifespan of a building, much like a car. We put money in and try to make sure we get the mileage out of it that we need to, and especially for a building. And the way we do that, through preventative maintenance, major maintenance, and then forecasting those capital needs as we go forward. And so as we go forward, it leads into these scores. So the FCI list, this is the first page of the state FCI list. And as you guys know, the higher the score, the more deferred maintenance that's on the building. And so you can see here with Camer Elementary School, they're right here. And basically what that means is they have 42% deferred maintenance versus the current replacement value of the building. So, so that's where they're at right now. And so currently, Brandon, you can talk a little bit about this, is the where they're at in the budget with the 0.4s and above.
We have a section coming up. I'll just hit it all there.
Just hit it there? Okay, we'll talk about that here then shortly. Okay. All right. So then for your buildings overall, we just talked about Camer, but you have Canyon, Camer Junior High School, and New Frontier High School, and where they're at in their condition scores. And then your ancillaries here listed below. So, and then the seismic report.
Oh, I know you're very familiar with this, Teresa. We had that seismic report back in the day, and we've talked about seismic issues forever there. So I don't think, and my understanding from Lance is like on the Camer Elementary School, you've been kind of holding off on that. Did the high school, did they address any seismic issues when they worked on it?
Well, yeah, the only seismic issue we had at the high school was the auditorium had to be reinforced.
Okay.
And yeah, it was so the high school seismic issues was taken care of in the remodel. And if you remember, that was a huge argument about who had to pay for that. And I won, by the way, but the state paid for that.
I am so shocked that you won. That's kind of.
Yeah, it was a private meeting. I was in rare form, but yeah, no, they paid for it. You guys paid for it.
Absolutely. I think in a renovation type of situation, and I would agree with you. I think the state was responsible, and you should have won. So good job.
Well, thank you very much. It was a good day because it was a lot of money.
Okay, so is it fair to say that you have not addressed the seismic issues in the Camer Elementary School as of yet? Okay. So
100% accurate. We have not.
Let's just say Camer Elementary School seismic issues have not been addressed as of yet.
Oops.
Okay, and what do you want me to say why? Why haven't they been addressed as of yet?
Well, because the initial plan was to go K6, 7, 12, and not have elementary school in that building.
Okay, good.
But due to enrollment issues and the community, we've not closed that building. So, and I feel it's inappropriate to put money in a building that may soon be closed, because I'm sure it's going to be, over $1 million. I mean, that's an open classroom concept. I don't even know how you would reinforce it without just starting over.
We only have one elementary school?
Two.
So however you want to sum that up.
That was really good. We might have to go back on our recording and capture that, get rid of that first sentence.
So,
We'll go back, and I think you said it perfect, and we'll just listen to the video, and we'll get exactly as you said it. We'll retype that.
All right.
Okay, that was
Okay.
perfect. And then back up to Burgoon. So that's where BOCES is, correct?
Correct.
Now, we've gone through our own mental gymnastics with regard to status of buildings. Burgoon is an active building.
Correct.
With BOCES in it.
Correct.
And so what about that one in the seismic issues?
No, it has not been addressed.
Okay, why not?
Well, there's no funding to address it.
Okay, would you like to request funds, capital funds to address known seismic issues within the building?
Well, before I answer yes or no, how would that even be possible? I mean, can I just talk off the record for a minute?
Yes, you may.
All right, I just don't understand how. I mean, we locally believe that the building is fine. They just upped the code for seismic issues, because when it was built, it was fine, and we believe it's a safe environment for people. And we do not understand why, if the board, the BOCES board, is aware of the issue and if they're fine with it, why would we request funds to solve a problem that actually the local community believes is a safe building?
Got it. Thanks for reminding me of that, because I talked to someone else and they did tell me that, I mean, obviously when it was built, it met code.
Right.
Seismic, and then there was a change, I remember this, there was a change in zone. In zone,
Right.
in the zoning of certain areas for seismic, and they included this area as a
Right.
higher level seismic concern. And so, yeah, so was the building under design? No. Did the area of or categorization of the seismic zone change? Yes. And okay, I got you. So let me work that one also a little bit.
And just so you know, that holds true for the Kimmer Elementary building too.
Okay, got it. I'll say something within this and
Okay.
in an appropriate manner here, and we'll note it. And the reason I want to do this, because I ask you this every year. So next year,
Okay.
I'll review last year and I'll say, okay, Teresa doesn't have to repeat herself 20 times.
Well, that's at least I try to have the same answer.
Well, last year you said no.
So Troy or Teresa, help me out. So the Kimmer project, if you get or school, you guys go to a K6 and a 712 in 2019/20,
Right.
right? Then
Yeah.
in 2019, what happens to the Kimmer ES?
That's
Well,
that's what we were talking about. Okay, well, yeah, let's say we don't do the study. They would. My understanding, Teresa, is you would move your alt school within that.
Into the ES?
Yep.
Okay.
Right. That's what we would like to do, but we realize we only need a portion of that building for that.
Okay.
So she's facing a 25% attendance or capacity, usage
Right.
of the building,
Okay.
and then she's got to maintain the entire building. And so that's where maybe, Brandon, a study would help her in such a way that would kind of, I still think it would take you a little bit out of the driver's seat in that at least there would be another entity that would help facilitate a process of considering what, the pros and cons of the use of that building, the non-use of that building, the effect on on their general, I'll call it general account, and kind of
Right.
maybe one step away from you, Teresa, in such a way that, and we could, and you could also use us as guinea pigs and say, the state initiated, initiated an interest in doing a study, recognizing that funding is limited, and
Okay,
Something
what's
for
the
that.
next section?
Sure.
That's what it's.
Next
Okay,
section
never
is
mind.
major
I'll take it up then.
all right. I think we've killed
No,
that.
no, right. I agree. That's why I would like to have those conversations and figure out what to do, because I think Richard can attest to the fact the main thing with Kimmer Elementary, if we do grow, it is on our main campus, and that is ground area, a building that we don't want to, give up. We want to maintain and keep in case we do end up, we have projected growth if we ever fortunate enough to grow. That's one reason, because we like our use. You know how our campus is. We're all right there on one big campus kind of, and the other thing is let's see here, 4 of my board members are Kimmer graduates who just really want us to keep that building. Correct, Richard? They don't want us to abandon it. They don't want us to knock it down. Do you agree, Richard?
I do agree with that. And it is nice because it is centrally located within our campus, and it makes it nice for like us to maintain it because everything is in close proximity.
And the great thing about a study like this is it would just kind of bring all the pros and cons out and let everybody express, and then there's an objective part to it financially. Objective, and then there's, I think, it's maybe not as objective, but there's this study of impact on education, programs, stuff like that as well, integrated within it. Okay, thank you.
All right. Very good. So let's go move on to major maintenance really quick. So thank you for getting that 680 form filled out. This is just the balance information from June 30 of last year. And these next graphics are just what your priorities were as a district and by monetary breakdown. So this is the breakdown by category and then by building.
You guys don't have to talk about any of these. It's
Right.
just
It's more for this part is just more for demonstration and more for the okay. Now for low condition scores, we do have your 1s and 2s listed for this, and again, this for us, we go through the condition assessment every 4 years and go through and evaluate the systems that are in your buildings, and these are the ones that are in either poor or failing condition. And so that right here, for example, for Cameron Elementary School, it's dependent upon the configuration for their building, what they're going to do in the future on that. And then, so I know when
let's stop for 1 second. Go back up. Hey, real quick question to you guys. Like the Kimmer Elementary School, the roof, it's got deferred maintenance. Looks like about 300 and some thousand. Did I see that correctly?
That's
Yeah,
right.
310,000. And then you said, how long's your warranty still? What year are you in your warranty, and how long is that warranty?
That warranty was a 20-year warranty, and I believe we still have maybe 10 years left. I'm not completely accurate on that. It should be right in that time frame.
Yeah, my guess was 10 too, so we can't both be wrong.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. So that thing apparently it's not. That almost sounds to me like your warranty it's not performing to a 20 years, according to the assessment.
No, I think that's an accurate statement there. Kimmer Elementary and Canyon, both of those roofs were put on the same time frame, and both of them we've had numerous issues with both of those roofs. Our contractor kind of went out of business. So we ended up calling warranty real quick after they took off. So those two roofs were not up to par, put it that way.
Interesting. And then I see also your exterior windows on Canyon. That's almost
So,
$500,000.
We actually had addressed that in an email to them as well. So I wanted to pull that up really quick. Thanks, Amber, for getting this up. So anyways, during the assessment, the biggest thing, I know this is a bit of concern of your guys' that I touched on is the biggest reason why the windows at Canyon scored so low is that they were having problems with the sealant, and then the white stains from, like they said, something was leaching out of the windows, like the sealant wasn't holding the windows, and so they were not getting a proper seal.
So what happened there is above each one of those windows in the design, the best way to describe it is like a round, like an eyebrow over the top of each of the windows. So the snow and the rain, it'll hit those eyebrows, and it rolls, and then it rolls right down the window. So the window is not necessarily at fault. It's more the whatever's leaching out of those eyebrows and rolling down the windows. So really, it's more of a cosmetic issue than a window breakdown issue.
Okay.
In my mind.
All right, so you're not having penetration of air or moisture into the windows or into the walls?
No. There might be a few windows that they looked at that might have had, say, a window crank that was missing or something like that, so air could infiltrate into the building. But for the most part, those windows are fairly intact. So that part of the condition score I really don't agree with.
Interesting. Did you make a comment when it came back through you for review? Did you make a comment with regard to that?
Oh, I didn't, and I should have, but I did not address that, and that's on me. So.
Okay, no problem. I just obviously that's an important part of the process, and we certainly we want these just as absolutely accurate as possible. But hey, next time through, make sure you make that observation, and whoever we hire, we'll make sure that they do a good job at looking at it.
Okay, thank you.
No, I was looking to see if I put those in the notes or not down below. That's fine. But thank you. That way, I thank you for working with us on that. And, we have addressed that previously as well. So just want to make sure we covered that. Looking at your major maintenance balance for this next year, if all things hold, roughly around $419,000 for the payment. Looking at possibly just about $1.6 million potentially for your major maintenance. And then we're looking at the work orders. Thank you for working with Amber to get these cleaned up. And so right now, before I go to component products, I want to turn over to the U district. We've been asking all the districts around the state, how do you prioritize your major maintenance, and what are the processes that you do to go through that, and basically give us an idea of how you go through that process every year.
So, Richard, do you want to answer that, or do you want me to?
Well, you go ahead, and I'll finish up. How's that?
Okay. Well, primarily, I depend on Richard to know what needs to be done, and we have meetings and discuss our prioritizing projects. But quite frankly, for the past 5 years, Richard would like me to say for the past 11 years, we've been looking at upgrading our boiler system again, because back in 2006 and 2007, we went from stoker coal to pit run coal because we had no option other than to do that. And we spent roughly $1 million in upgrading our boiler system in our heat plant from whatever system it was to a King coal system. And it has never, ever, ever worked right. It's always been breaking down and a major problem. So for the past 5 years, we've been basically saving our major maintenance money to do this, you know, $1.9 million project to upgrade our entire boiler system, knowing it was going to happen shortly. And then, so while we're trying to save money to maintain our heat facility so that we can have warm schools in Wyoming, we then prioritize based off that on what needs to be done, whether it's a roof or HVAC systems, doors, whatever that is. But we always have that big, till now, that big goal of trying to ensure we have enough money to upgrade our heat plant. Okay, Richard.
I do agree with that. You know, we have been so focused on our heat plant upgrade that really that's taken majority of my time looking at that. You know, some of our other stuff, it's kind of on a as-need basis, and that's kind of how we've rolled the past year or two anyway. So consequently, probably part of our not addressing some of our other concerns is we've been too focused on our boiler upgrade.
And I know that when I look at our 1s and 2s from you guys, you know, like the roof at Kimmer Elementary, you know, we as a district say, well, it's still under warranty. I'm not spending $300,000 on a new roof. The windows at Canyon have been on the list basically ever since it was remodeled. So that was always a question in my mind. So the biggest items on the list, we as a district honestly just disagreed with the findings from the SFD is the other reason those weren't addressed. Right, Richard?
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
All right, thank you for doing that. So you know, when we're talking about upgrading boiler systems, another opportunity for funding that we are working on right now is actually component projects. Did you guys attend the training this past fall for components?
No, we did not. And I did talk to, oh, dang it, your director, Ken?
Oh, Dale?
Right? Dale, okay. You got Dale, yeah, I did talk to Dale. He wanted me to submit my boiler for component funding, but there was no way to get funded for that until like this session for next, you know, for the next biennium. And we honestly couldn't wait. We had too many problems. Last year we had pipes that broke going from the heat plant to Kimmer Elementary underground, and we had no heat for 2 or 3 weeks in that building trying to fix that. So we don't want the fire marshal to know, but you know, we had portable heaters in that building until we got that fixed. And then during the changeover at Canyon Elementary, we had another break in the system. So there was just, we were asked by the SFD to submit this for component funding, but there was no way we could wait for that process to happen.
Well, for this next biennium, if you do have any project like that, the training is on our website. Applications for that need to be in by September 15th, and this will go for the next biennium. So if you have another project that needs funded for the next biennium, this would be a good opportunity for you to be able to do that.
Yeah, so I don't need to do that for my kitchen, do I? Since there's already funding earmarked.
No.
Okay. No, I mean, I appreciate that that's an opportunity out there. We just didn't have the, you know, we couldn't wait, but I appreciate that that's available for districts to request.
All right, in this next section, Troy, then really quick for your information, currently in House Bill 1 and in Senate File 1, projects 1 through 16 on this list are in the bill to be funded, the $10.5 million. And so far, so good. They're still in there. And it seems like to be one of the things that they agree upon. So we're keeping our fingers crossed, hoping that that's will continue to go moving on through those bills.
So since you're talking about bills, House Bill 32 was read by the Senate Appropriations, and it's going at noon recess. They're going to have a meeting because the term upgrade was taken out for major maintenance.
Yep.
Are you guys going to be there to try to say that upgrade needs to be included?
No, we were there when it got read on I think the House or the Senate side, and the upgrade was if you have the intent was if you have a mechanical system and you just upgrade it to include AC, then that would be acceptable. So that wasn't really the intent of major maintenance, and they also took out the words marginally altered, because you can't really, what's marginally altered to you is different than your neighbor district. So those two things got taken away. More of
But anytime we replace an old system with a new, it's an upgraded system because they change.
Right, and that's already allowed, through the normal major maintenance process. It's the upgrade intent when it was proposed. I think it got done by Pappas at the October Select Committee meeting. The intent was if you have an AC, go ahead and add, or you have mechanical, go ahead and upgrade and also add air conditioning. Then they also added the marginally altered. They were more diluting the major maintenance direction into remodels and adding stuff that isn't currently existing. So that got back to where we're currently at, or where it's always been, really.
Okay.
So I will be there though.
Okay.
All right, I guess while we're at it, that's where we're at right now currently.
Yeah, so scroll down, we'll go through some of the ones.
So this is one up here is, okay, Troy put this one up here for the review, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Brandon.
Okay, so this is in there right now, right?
Senate File 1 and House Bill 1. Correct.
Okay. So one of the things I wrote down a note here on this component when you guys were talking about it earlier,
Mm-hmm.
if the component funding comes through, I put down study, deploy funds for growth in the alt school. So that Kimmer ES, right?
Right.
Yeah, so, before we blow through $3 or $4 million, maybe we determine the intent was to address all ones and twos that are deferred, but we need to make sure what's the district's future plans of the school and all that. We just double check and verify before we take off.
So just to talk about that, I put so anything at 0.4 above was a commission directed component project, and so they're actually saying, hey, listen, if a district's going to hold to a building like that, we better take care of it, as in state obligation of funds to help you take care of it. But we also recognize that it sounds to me like you pretty well have pretty solid plans of going over to Canyon now. Go down for a second. So this was done by FEA and looked over, and it's got a very thorough what would be done in order to remedy those ones and twos. Now, if the district's going, hey, we're moving out of there, and potentially, see this here, right here, I think this would absolutely necessitate. If they're planning on moving out of it, I think it does necessitate a study.
Right.
For proper. It's not just
study first, then determine.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think this is all the more reason to do that study, and then Teresa, instead of you having to initiate that request or something, we can say, listen, if you're looking at opportunities to consolidate your elementary over in Canyon, and then you may move your alt school in there, we probably ought to do this study to justify whether or not how much total was it up above?
Pushing 3.5, $4
$3.5
million.
Yeah.
Well, $3 million is going to be spent on that. And it sounds to me like you would even be questioning, it's like, guys, we're not so sure that would be the best use or not, but why don't you come in and let's have a discussion and let's make it a public forum to do so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
I would also say, since that's not no, let's try to get the money first,
Yeah.
and then we can make that decision.
Okay. Yeah, there's no decision to be made if there's no money.
Right.
Yeah, and we all know until the governor's signature's on it, it's all up
Yeah.
for grabs.
But I also wouldn't tell them not to fund it because you never know we haven't done a study yet, so we don't
That's right.
know.
Okay.
So let's see, House Bill 32. That's the one I believe that's up today, and 33. That does the 7-year phase in. I'll keep that, and then on the major maintenance addresses code, and it got removed. That's the one that had the language in it you were just talking about, Teresa.
Right.
So we'll see what happens today on those two. 63 was on labor. It got killed for putting people from Wyoming to work, which 65 got killed. That was on a design build delivery method, eliminating the threshold. House Bill 88, it's still going to go through, and I think it'll probably pass. It's simple, but what it does is it creates a third division. Currently, we have 2 divisions, CM and SFD. It would create a third one, so like everybody in this room, we would all be in that operations. We're workers. Lance would be put in there, and where that could affect you is if you had a specific project, you could get a different project manager. Not to say that it would happen, but it would allow the director to put key resources on key projects to put the right talent where it needs to be. For example,
Okay.
Lance is working on the healthcare stuff. He's over there. He's very knowledgeable about big projects, and it's one of the best we got. So he's on a huge project on the CM side already. Now, technically, we shouldn't probably be having him over there until this bill passes. So this helps align the vision of the department with the law. So then Senate Joint Resolution 3 would put the funding of schools out to the voters, change the Constitution. On the capital construction side, it's torn. Right now you got the House side that has everything that the Select Committee and Governor recommended and some to fund projects. And then on the Senate side, they cut everything but the leases and the component projects. So that is completely to be determined. Now, in there, we were, in the bill down here, it talks about, going for projects in the general session for emergency or unanticipated needs only. And I don't really see any that you had for capacity or condition, or emergency, but do you see anything different that I'm not seeing?
No.
So the only thing I really heard would be a need coming up in the next biennial budget request of maybe some components that you may need to address.
Correct.
Okay. And some study. So if the money for the commission directed component gets appropriated, we would fund the study out of a different account, which we have for some planning. We have about 250,000, so we could, use a little bit for that before we take off with the commission-directed component funding, or we just revert it, depending on the outcome of the study in your board.
Thank you, Brandon.
So let's put no emergency. Oh, you did. District has no something. Sorry.
All right. So that brings us to the last portion of our facility plan template, the unique issues, ideas, and concerns. And so for district, this is the things that we haven't covered that you'd like to cover, or anything that we've missed. So go ahead and turn it over to you.
Well, I think I'm good. What about you, Richard and Kim?
I think we're good.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add on that.
You two have any questions?
I don't.
All right, staff, do you guys have any questions?
I want to go back to your K6, 7, 12 idea. So is that something that you're still just mulling over, or the board is actually seriously considering that, or for sure moving forward with it?
I have discussed it at a board meeting, and if our enrollment does not increase, yeah, we're going to move forward with it.
Okay,
As long as,
go ahead, sorry.
no, as long as we get that the dining area done. I'm just kind of a stickler that I'm not going to feed kids at 10:30 in the morning, if you know what I mean, or not let them go to lunch till 1. We need to have the facility to be able to feed kids between the hours of 11 and 12:30. So
What's the capacity of Canyon?
Currently, Canyon, 49%.
the lunchroom?
No, I was just looking at your numbers there. As of October of last year, WD reported 200 in Canyon, 148 in Kemmer. That equals 348, and you've got a
Right.
408 capacity, right? So, I mean, we're
Right.
looking at a 60 student. We're looking at a 60 student. You know, you could still potentially, put another 60 students in there. So it's not as if you're overflowing that building or anything. It could work.
Right. I'm not talking about capacity of the building. I'm just talking about the capacity of the lunchroom.
Well, I got you. So, yeah, can we go to a floor plan of that? Canyon, real quick?
Sure, absolutely.
We're gonna, right before we quit here, I just wanted to make sure we kind of nail this conversation and understand thoroughly. So, are you saying it's the size of the lunchroom, or just the fact?
It's the size of the dining area.
Okay, and so this money, that 1 million, what was the scope of that original plan, and will it address the size?
Yes, it will. The front part of it is a dining area. Then you have a serving area, and then we have this huge kitchen because it was the main kitchen for the district. So they're going to just go in and I'm not a construction person, but they're going to go in and knock down the area. They will expand the area and push the serving area back. Richard, can you explain it better?
Can you guys help us understand from this drawing?
Okay, so you have the cafe, right? And then cafe 1 is the serving area. Cafe 2 is the kitchen area. Cafe 7 is the office area where our food service director used to be. Cafe 8 is the delivery bay. Cafe 5 is a storage area. Cafe 4 would be our freezer areas. Cafe 9 is the dishwashing area. Do you agree, Richard?
Yeah, so it'd be more of a kind of reconfigure that whole space.
Right.
Move everything back to the north.
Right. We would for sure be taking Cafe 1 where the serving area is. That should be pushed back into probably right where Cafe 2 is, actually where the word's highlighted on here, and the dining area would be pushed back. So just expanding the dining area is the overall goal, whatever it takes within that to do.
And it might even be a little bit further back, but something like that anyway, because the rest of the spaces are going to have to stay pretty much intact. The dishwashing, the walk-in cooler, walk-in freezer.
If you guys are going to get this done before next fall, you realize you got to get after it, right?
It wouldn't be next fall. It would be the fall of 19.
Oh, I got you.
A year and a half out.
Okay, but all right, and so the basically as soon as the students got out in the spring of 19, you basically have it designed, ready to roll. You know exactly what the scope is, and you would have a contract to move on it.
Well, yeah, I would have contracts already in play, ready to go, ready to move by the first day school's out. That's that spring.
Okay, Good. Now, make sure you get with Lance and get moving on that.
I guess the question I have, is it designed currently, this, or no?
I don't think so. You haven't designed it, have you? You don't have an architect or anything, do you?
No, we don't have, we've done nothing at this point. This is just the original design. So,
Yeah, there's a lot to be done with that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You have to get it
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, make sure you grab Lance and get moving immediately on that. And that looks like a good opportunity for you guys. You know, we're so many years later, it'll be interesting what that cost ends up being. So let's just.
well, I would hope the cost would be down because when we first designed this is when everything cost a lot of money.
Well, good hope.
I'm just saying. Well, when we bonded for that gym, just the gym alone was going to be $8.2 million. When it came to construction, we got a gym and a football field for that money.
Nice. Teresa, just thinking out loud here, one opportunity is to do your design, because you've got kitchen equipment, right? You're going to have kitchen.
Right.
Okay, so you could do your design and bid it in probably December of 19. Issue a contract so that the contractor can release the December of 18. Release the contract, say January. The contractor could then have a contract. He could release his long lead purchase items, and
Right.
may get some good numbers bidding at that time of the year. Versus in the spring, it might be a little tougher. Plus, you got long lead items coming out of a kitchen. So, just a thought.
So you're saying to honor her thought of good prices?
Yes.
You put it out on the street probably in November.
Yeah, and then I'd bid it the second week of December before Christmas.
Yeah.
Just looking at statistics, that's the best we've got numbers. Since I've been here for 9 years, that's the sweet spot. And then what we do is we issue contracts, and then, that takes a little time, takes a month or so. Now you're into January. February, March, the items are released. They come in April, May, everything's ready to go. Boom, you hit the ground sprinting, and the kids get out.
Well, I'm gonna. I took notes on that, but I'm just hoping that even if you guys change structure, that you still just let me have Lance, and Lance will make sure that I stay on those targets.
Yeah, all you have to do is stand on his neck, and he'll make it happen.
Lance is in town.
I don't have to stand on his neck because he'll want it done. So I just have to
He's one of the
text him a
best.
lot.
He's one of the
He
best
is.
we got.
So,
Utilize his knowledge and expertise.
okay, anything else?
No, I'm just, Teresa, thanks for being open to a study. And I think just looking at what we have coming on, if that component project comes through, I think that it would be negligence on our part not to join you in looking at the long-term use of your building. So I think that'll be a good opportunity for all of us.
All right. Thank you guys. Sorry that I'm in a hotel room instead of over there, but
I apologize on that. I was doing another pre-meeting right before this and I wasn't able to answer you. Walk straight.
I knew you were busy. It's not a problem. I just should have, if I wasn't, I was at the session last night till 8:45 and didn't get done with dinner till 10. My plan was to drive by to make sure I knew where to go, but it was a long day yesterday.
Okay, thanks
All
a
right,
lot.
thank you so much, and we'll go ahead and end the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, you guys have a good day.
Thank
You too.